So the next day I go to work and I told my boss, I said, Mr. Shoma, man, this guys called me, man. They want to do like a project, yada, 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 and all that kind of thing. And he said, okay, how much do you charge him? I said, 30K. I said, who are these guys? And I told him, and I mentioned the name of the brand. And I said, you charge people 30K? I said, yes. He said, you charge people 30K? I said, yes. He now Googled it. He now opened the brand. Yeah. He said, Femi, was it by?
Hi, welcome to the Everything Voiceovers podcast. I'm Tcode, an African voiceover talent from Nigeria, and this is my podcast, where I take on voiceover topics from an African perspective. On this episode, my guest is Femi Olugbade, also known as Femi Bakes, an experienced voice actor, voiceover coach, producer, audio engineer, and sound designer. We talk about dealing with local and international clients. Sit back and enjoy this episode. Hi guys, welcome to the Everything Voiceover podcast, the African perspective. I am Tcode, your host, and like we do on this show, I bring on voice talents across the continent, and we get to talk about the voiceover industry and things that are related to the growth of voice talents in Africa. On this episode today is an experienced voiceover coach, host, and producer of the internationally acclaimed podcast, Letters to Boyz. Now, having worked in the media industry and gaining experience in production, audio engineering, audio editing, vocal direction, and sound design, he's passionate about creating different perspectives as to how sound is perceived, and he uses various audio engineering techniques. This inspired the birth of his audio production outfit, the Sound Baking Company, with a brand promise of baking stories to perfection. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the sound baker himself, Femi Olugbade, also known as Femi Bakes. Femi Bakes, it's a pleasure to host you on this podcast. How are you doing?
Yo, I'm good. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Please, was that me that you were reading about? Please, who is that guy?
That is Femi Bakes, you know.
Please give me the number of that guy, please.
Better own it. Now you, guy, that's you, man. I mean, and that's impressive, really. I love it when I see young people like us doing what we believe in, you know, being bold about it and taking the steps. So congrats, man. Shout out to the Sound Baking Company.
Yes, so they push on.
Yeah. And let's start with your podcast, right? When you say internationally acclaimed podcast, because you're a podcaster too, I'm a podcaster. So let's start there before we dive into the voiceover thing. Boys to Men, why is it internationally acclaimed? So you can give me the Ojoro and I know how to use it for me.
Oh my God, you just said Boys to Men.
Oh my!
Oh my goodness. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's internationally acclaimed, right? Like, I mean, has like affiliation with Google, like not Google Nigeria, Google Global, like like Google Global, PRX. So I mean that was like really huge. That to be a part of the accelerator program put together by PRX and the Google Podcast Creators Program, man. Like it was just huge. Like it's an amazing opportunity to be in a room virtually with other podcasters from other continents, other countries. We had someone from Kenya, we had from Cuba, we had from America, we had from like a bunch of places, and just to rub minds, be mentored by like the toppest, if there's any word like that, industry leaders in the audio world, in the world of journalism, audio production, like massive. And that's like a big stage. And not just that, like we are still like the only first Nigerian and only Nigerian podcast to be on that program. Like so far so good. So I mean, they should pay me my coins now.
Don't worry, we're gonna catch up soon, you know. Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's really nice to see what you're doing, man. So let's
Yeah.
get down to the podcast. And by the way, guys, you can check his podcast out. I'm sure it's on the different
It's
streaming
everywhere.
platforms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
Uh,
Spotify,
it's not
Apple,
Boys to
Google.
Men, no. It
It's
is
letters to
Letters
boys.
to Boys. All right. So okay. What I love to do on this podcast as well is for my guest, I want to know what your name means because
Okay.
you're Nigerian, but we
Yeah.
have listeners across the world. And two
Yeah.
things, understanding the meaning of your name and understanding how it's pronounced. I think
Yeah.
that it also helps for people to know a bit more about Africa and
Yes.
what our language is. So,
Yeah.
what is the full meaning? What's the meaning of Femi Olugbade? First of all, did I pronounce it right?
That's
Fantastic.
it.
I'm Yoruba
That's,
too, so I should be
yeah.
able to pronounce it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
what's the full
Yes.
meaning of your name?
So Oluwafemi means God loves me, right?
Mm,
Oluwafemi means God loves me. Olugbade simply means the literal meaning of this is Olu collected a crown, right? Olu collected a crown. That's Olu. Ba is collect, right? And
mhm,
Ade is like a crown,
mm.
right?
So,
So
what
that's
is
like the
Olu?
literal meaning of the surname. But Oluwafemi itself like means God loves
Loves me.
me. So if you take out the Olua, that's the God. Femi means love me or marry
Mm-hmm.
me or want me. That's what it means. So putting the God there is Oluwafemi. And I decided to now add the Bakes in between. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's now Oluwafemi Bakes, then Olugbadi at the end. And Bakes also has a meaning. Funny enough, it has a meaning.
Okay. Tell
Yeah,
us what's the meaning.
it stemmed from a prank way back in secondary school. So there was this very interesting young lady that I tried to prank. One of those girls back in secondary school that used to do shakara for all the boys that, oh, you cannot toast me, you cannot toast me, you cannot toast me. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, no problem. You are raining down on every other guy's parade. You are talking down on them. No problem. Let's see. Two can play this game. So I created
Brilliant.
a character and
Mhm.
then I called her, right? Myself and the girl have a mutual friend. So it was myself and that mutual friend that planned the whole prank. So I called her and I
Mhm.
pretended to be this American guy from Kogi State. So I originated from I was born in Kogi, stayed in
Mhm.
Nigeria, then moved over there, and then I pretended to be that guy over the phone. And then because I was in the same school with her, I knew like so many details about her. So she was pumped, she was really excited. She got to school the next day. She told all her classmates, say, there's this guy. So the name I used was Daniel Bakes, actually. It was Daniel
Ah.
Bakes. Because she asked me, she was like, what's your name? I'm like, Daniel. She said, Daniel what? Off the top of my head, that was the name that popped into my head, Daniel Bakes. Right? So I went to check on Facebook if there was anybody bearing Daniel Bakes. I'm like, okay, there's nobody bearing Daniel Bakes on this, so it's still believable. So she got to school the next day and she told everybody, oh my god, there's this guy, Daniel Bakes. So that mutual friend of mine now heard and she came to tell me that this girl don't fall in love. Oh." But after a couple of days, I just thought about it. I'm like, you know what? If rapture comes down and God catches me, like, I just might not go to heaven.
They
so I'm
will
like,
take you.
so I'm like, I have to stop this prank. So I went to the girl. I told her, I said, you know what? I'm the guy you've been talking to over the phone. I'm the one that's been pranking you. And she was like, hey, I knew. I'm like, I'm begging you, don't know.
Just try to
So
form.
I'll tell you, since then I just adopted that Bakes name, and I'm like, oh, I like this Bakes, and then just put the
Uh-huh.
Femi in front of Femi Bakes.
Wow. That makes
Yeah.
sense, man. So I'm sure. I mean, this is. I want to believe that this is one of the many stories that you have in this kind of. So
yeah,
your
definitely.
your letters to boys is
Yeah,
really. I mean, like you have experience to be able to host that kind of podcast.
yeah.
But
Well, yeah, sort of. To an extent, yes.
that that's cool. That's cool. So tell us what growing up was like for you, because that also helps us to understand your early influence in
Mm. So I grew up I grew up in a
Oh,
family of six. That's inclusive of my mom and dad,
oh, great.
right? I am the second of four children, uh, second and only boy of four ladies, right? So I grew up
Wow.
in a family house where we had like a lot of cousins, and we used to call that family house barracks. Now I'm talking cousins from my dad's side, cousins from my mom's side, like a bunch of them, and we just grew up in that house. There was this togetherness that we felt, and all of them were
Mm,
actually older than me. So I ended up having to catch up with most of their conversations because I didn't really grow up with like a lot of my peers, maybe except school, but I didn't have like a lot of my peers around. I just had a lot of these adults, right? At the
mm,
time. So I grew up trying to catch up with their conversations, trying to understand, try to be a big boy and all that kind of thing. So it sort of made me grow up faster, right,
mm,
than my age, right? So I would be among my peers and I would be talking, and it just felt like I couldn't relate as much with them because it just felt, nah, like my thought process had already improved by far.
mm,
So
mm,
that was like what really, really influenced
mm,
that was what really influenced like my growing up,
mm.
also my older sister, added to that because I mean I had to catch up with her as well, so there was no
Yeah.
time to really
To be,
sulk and be a baby and all that. I just had to, really catch up real quick.
and you're the only man, of course. So
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
had
yeah,
to.
yeah. I'm the only
I was gonna throw a jab at you actually, but I will still throw it style anyway.
guy.
When you said you're the only boy amongst three other ladies, I mean
Yeah,
girls, I felt like
yeah.
maybe that's why it took you so long to grow beards.
Ah.
Shots fired, man.
Nice one, nice one, nice one, nice one. I
Oh
see,
my
I see,
god.
I
In
see.
my own case, we're just three boys, so that explains why the beards are just like very bold and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, man, lucky
All
you,
right,
man, lucky
man.
you.
So yeah, so let's talk about voiceovers. How did
Yeah.
you discover voiceovers?
So my discovery into voiceovers was quite funny. So this was how my own started. I remember
Okay.
growing up, I just used to like, was it presenting? I used to see people presenting, on TV and all that kind of thing. And I just liked it. I was really fascinated about it. I was shy at the time, so my only avenue was recording on phones. So I'll take my cousin's phone, I'll record something on it, then I'll go and show another of my cousins, right? That, oh, see what I did. And they, wow, nice one. They really didn't understand what it was at the time, but they were like, oh, wow, this is good. I mean, you just never know what this could be, but it just kept encouraging me. Then I also remember doing something. At some point, I'll now take two phones. I
Mm,
remember there was one I did. I think it was scripture in Psalms as the deer. Sorry, I think it was the Lord is my shepherd. Yeah, the Lord is my shepherd. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. Right, and then the
yeah.
music playing in the background on the second phone was as the deer panteth forth. Right,
Mm,
so
yeah.
I took that phone, I played the song, and I took the other phone, and then I recorded Psalm 23, right?
Wow.
So when I played everything back, it felt like the voice was over the music. And then I was really excited. I went to show my cousin, right? Oh, like, oh, check this out. And I was like, oh, this is really good. I really wish I could find some of those recordings, but I just
Mm,
can't find it anymore. And I'm talking, this was as far back as maybe when I was 12 or 13 or 10, thereabouts, right? At the
mm,
time. Then I also remember watching Big Brother. It's not like I watched it, but
yeah.
I grew up with adults, right? So
Yeah.
I used
Yeah.
to, I used to stretch my neck and what are these guys? What are these guys doing? And then I
Mm,
saw Big Brother Africa,
mm.
the one that had, for anybody who had watched it, let me try to jog your memory. The one that had
Okay.
Lerato, I think Gaetano, Richard,
Mm,
Code. So there's a guy called, I think his name is Code or Code.
Okay.
I can't remember. He had dreads like this. So I remember one particular episode that I watched. He was drinking a can of Fanta. So he picked up that can, he looked at it, right? He drank from Fanta. Then you know how he did that when you drink and you do that. So he did that, and then he started reading the contents of the can of that Fanta, right? So I watched that. I will never forget that episode. Is still in my. I remember like where the guy sat. I will never forget that day. So I sat down, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I want to do this. So I put that somewhere in my head, but I really didn't explore it as much. So I also remember like wanting to really do radio. Yeah. So there was radio. So I got really interested in the whole radio. I always wanted to be on Cool FM. So I always practiced Cool FM 96.9, DO to the TUN, dropping on fat joints, yada, 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 yada. And I will listen to Dotun, I will listen to the Beat 99.9. Then I also wanted to be a DJ at some point. Then I loved presenting. So I'll watch Aikio Sakyodua, I'll watch all his interviews, I'll watch radio interviews of Tools and Gbemi. I would watch some TV presenting for SABC3. There was one search competition that they were doing one time. So I'll watch those things on YouTube. I'll just keep watching people presenting like over and over and over and over again. So I'm like, okay, maybe I could explore this. Maybe I could explore presenting. Maybe I could explore, radio. But I still didn't have an idea of what voiceover was, right? Then growing up
Yeah.
again, right? You watch TV and then you used to see Shegun Arinze. When Shegun Arinze used to do movie trailers, when you just use all those deep voice,
Yeah.
kanayo, kanayo, and they'll put all that effect, pion, this one, pion, this one, this one. I'm like, okay, I like this too. It wouldn't be a bad idea to try this out. But I still did not know that
Yeah.
it was voiceovers. So in
Mm.
2012, 11, 12, 13, I was just Googling, like checking online. I'm like, what is this thing that people do when people talk on TV or talk on the radio, in commercials and animation? What is it? So I went online and I realized, oh, wow. So it's called voiceovers. Fantastic.
Mm.
Now I know the name for this thing. Let's now find a way
Mm.
to start learning this thing. So there was a
Mm.
time, I checked for all the voiceover directories in Nigeria. At the time, there was the Voice Bank Nigeria. I checked all of those
Mm.
guys, checked all the voice samples there. I reached out to some of them. Some of them did not respond. Some of them were like, who be this guy? I beg, I don't get time. Because then I
Mm.
always had the idea that I wanted to be one of the youngest voiceover talents in Nigeria at the time. Right. So
Mm.
I just felt, oh, people would just give me a hand and just allow me to shine, and I'll be a superstar and all that stuff. But that was just my fantasy. I was living in a fantasy at the time. I didn't know that it was a real world, right? So that happened with the whole voiceover bank. But I kept searching. I really wanted to learn this thing. So I'll go to YouTube. I'll go and search for a lot of materials. I will check out Susan Bennett on YouTube. I'll check out Earl Hall. If you check Earl Hall's video, there was one question an email I sent to him one time about how to, get into all these voiceover things. I'll watch a lot of free videos on YouTube and all that. I watch a lot of free videos on YouTube and all that kind of thing. I'm like, I'll keep finding and searching for answers. But it wasn't still
Mm.
structures. It was just in bits and pieces. So I'll just keep searching and trying different things. I'll hear an ad on TV. I'll do the exact same thing. I'll listen to Cool FM. I'll watch all those ads. I'll just keep repeating the ads. Like the same way they said it, I'll do the exact same thing. The same way they said it, I'll do the exact same thing. You know, and then
Mm.
it was in my quest for searching for answers to voiceovers that I stumbled on audio production, right? I
Mm.
realized that
Yeah.
I was reaching out to these guys, they were not responding. Nobody wanted to give me a free studio session. Okay, how do I do this thing in such a way that I'm able to record myself, I'm able to do some light editing, and then I'm able to produce this work and showcase it. Okay, there's internet, Abby. Okay, there's YouTube. All right, let's learn how to do audio production small, small. So I started with Audacity. I'll record with my phone, right? I'll record on my phone. I'll take the audio to Audacity, and then I would edit it and put it out on social media. I will send it to my entire contact list. Then I was using a BlackBerry Curve 7. It was still on this same journey that I learned how to record with my phone properly. In searching for answers for voiceovers, I learned how to record properly with my phone. I learned audio production, and I think it's also good to have like a fantastic support system in terms of family members who just feel, even if they don't understand, they just feel, this guy, you did try, you did try, you did try, So I had this particular cousin, Tolulope, right? I used to call him Olifi. He gave me literally my first voiceover job, right, at the time. So he had a friend in Canada, and the friend wanted to do like something, and he was like, this boy, they do voiceover. I said, yes. Hey, help me do something for my friend now. This is what she wants. She wants blah, 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 blah. So that was literally like my first gig. It was not paid, but it was like, okay, do it. I believe, say, if you run them now. So I took it, and then I used my phone to record. The little editing that I was able to do at the time, I did it, and then I sent it to him. And when he sent it to his friend was like, oh my God, this is so good. We don't even have this quality like this in Canada. Was it recorded in a studio? Oh my God, who did this? Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, Oga, now my wardrobe, I record this thing. I know go any studio. Now my phone I use though, But
Yes.
that comment was really, really encouraging. That whoa, man, this is like massive. This is like awesome stuff, right? So my learning was still not structured at the time, So I had taken in a lot of free content. I was just trying my hands on a bunch of things. And when I try these things and I implement it, I put it out there, either on social media or I send it to people to just get their feedback and see what do they think, right? So it wasn't I'll learn and I'll just I'll learn and put it out there. Whether or not I got feedback, I'll put it out there. Do you get? So it wasn't a function of seeking validation from people. I was learning. I just wanted to put what I was learning to good use, right? So, I mean, that Canada job like really gave me like a massive boost, right? And it just put me in the right direction, right? My cousin believed in my amateur skills at the time, and it was like, this guy can do it. Let this guy do it. And even till today, like he's always really excited about whatever voiceover endeavors I had, right? So if I have any small wins here and I share it, he'll just come and be like, Famo! And you just shout and all that. And I also have like other cousins too who are really, really supportive in that light. Like, for example, when this pocket ad on BB Niger came out, they were really raving. They were like, "Oh, man, Famo, you don't know." I'm like, "Oh, man!" And these are the guys. Yeah, now, and these are my cousins that they just believe that this thing could turn out into something. Let's not exactly shut this boy out, or let's not shut him down. Yes, he needs to study engineering and study all of that, but let's not still kill this thing. You just never know how this thing can fly. So they're always really excited about my small wins, my big wins, and they just keep encouraging me to push and do more. So having that support system is always very important. Then even in school, back in school, my guys in school, in engineering at the time, also knew that I did voiceovers. They didn't really understand what voiceovers was until they met me, until I showed them that, oh, this is voiceover. And they were like, so that's what they call this thing. Wow, interesting. So back in my 200 level, I think
Mm,
that was before. Yes, it was before I came to the Voiceover Academy for proper structured learning, right? So back in
mm,
my 200 level, there was one particular ad. It was for, I think it was for Legend Extra Stout.
mm,
Legend Extra Stout. I remember the script. It was Legend Extra Stout, full brewed for that real stout to taste, with a
mm,
gold crown cork, a gold neck foil, and a metallized body label. Legend
mm.
Extra Stout, taste the real deal. I'll never forget that script. I remember recording that particular one on my laptop at the time, my laptop mic. I remember it was in one raggedy room that had rats flying all over the room. It was in school hostel. So I took like mattresses on the bunks, right? I
Mm.
placed it against the window just to create some form of soundproofing. Rats were everywhere. And then I took a
Wow.
blanket, I covered myself on that laptop, and then I started recording. The whole Legend Extra start. When I was done, I used Davido's Damiduro song as the music bed. I just reduced the volume a bit and then mixed everything down, and I sent it to everybody on my
Wow.
engineering contact list. And overnight, I became a superstar.
Wow.
I became a
Wow.
superstar. I'm telling you. So the next day, there were anybody that saw me, because it was like an engineering internship that was just the engineering students that were in the whole school at the time. So they'll
Mm.
just see me on the road. They'll just say, "Hey, Legend Extra Star! Hey, Legend Extra Star!" you know,
You became a
but it was
legend.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
they call me Legend. Legend Extra Star, and it was really, really encouraging at the time. Like, these guys never knew what voiceovers was. I showed them a physical representation of what this thing could be,
Mm.
and everything. So they were like, voiceover, voiceover. So since that day, they always remember that when they hear voiceover, they remember my name, Femi
I mean,
Bakes. And at the time, I was just
yeah.
clowning. Literally, it wasn't like I was a professional. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like I was literally just, I will learn something, I'll
Mm-hmm.
implement it, I'll put it
Mm-hmm.
out there nonetheless. Whether you
Mm.
celebrate me or not, me, I'm learning and I'm improving. People that would,
Mm.
would join along the way,
Mm.
but I know that I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm improving. Even there were some times, I see a show, I see an ad on TV, and I try to recreate it and I put it out on social media. I would do it so seriously that my sisters would
Mm.
look at me and say, did they pay you for this job? What's wrong with you? I remember one that I did for Olamide's live in concert. I can't remember that year. Olamide's live in concert. I
Yeah,
went
yeah,
to my
yeah.
room. Yeah, I went to my room. I recorded with my phone, and then I did it. And my sisters were looking at me like, did they pay you? Did Olamide pay you? And then when I released it again, my guys went AWOL again. Hey, bad guy.
Damn.
They're like, hey, bad guy, bad guy. I'm like, So I constantly had those people that just knew that these guys say there's something about this. No, just keep doing this thing. Just keep pushing. Yes, you might be
Yeah.
doing other things, but this one, there's something there. There's something there. And I've had like my day ones, right? Family,
Mm.
friends, schoolmates. I've had them, always rooting for me, always rooting for me.
Mm.
So all of that episode happened. I was just still learning, like pockets of learning here and there, and then I finally went for like proper training in 2017 at the
Yeah.
Voiceover Academy. So I went, I and I knew why I was going for that training. And it was to know more about the Nigerian market, right?
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
I learned a whole lot. And as soon as I was learning those things, I was implementing it already. Before I
Yeah.
was already doing certain things,
Yeah.
but now
Yeah.
I could now put a label to these things I was doing and apply it
Yeah.
properly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of these things I was able to, because I think I also like to mention that to a large extent, I had some form of privilege to experiment because I didn't have any form of pressure on me at the time.
Mm.
I was
Mm. I
staying with my
see.
parents, right? I didn't have to think of rent or I'm paying for food or I'm buying this one or I'm buying that one. I had
Yeah.
like, I was still contributing in my very little quarter, right? but I didn't have like some major responsibility on my back. So I knew that I could try this thing within this frame time of school, and if it fails, I'll know that okay, I need to do something else. So I had that window. Even at the time I was experimenting with audio production, because when I was still experimenting with audio production, I was doing internship in one oil and gas servicing company. So I would leave the house in the morning at like 5 a.m. or like 6:30 a.m. in the morning, go all the way to VI. On my way to VI, I'm listening to radio, I'm listening to ads, my ears are plugged. When I'm coming back from VI to same thing, I'm listening to radio, right? I'm feeding my mind with all of those ads, the whole radio vibe and energy and all that kind of thing. So when I get home, I now practice. I now go to YouTube. I sit down with the video, say from 12 to like 4 a.m. ish. Then I sleep for like an hour. After that 1 hour, I hit the road again. I'm going to work. So I did that for like 3 months. Right? So, but I was, will I say, privileged some kind of way, because I didn't have, because it might be different for some other people. They might have some responsibilities. So they might not have the luxury to do that at the time. Maybe they'll have to go and do something else, and maybe they'll come back to it. But mine was a lot different, So I had training in 2017, and it's just been a blissful experience, a learning, unlearning, making mistakes, making massive mistakes, crying, coming back up, and then it's just been an amazing ride, an interesting one.
You said a whole lot, man. They don't call you Femi Bakes for nothing, because your story baked. Like, I mean, how you moved from the scratch to see. One of the things I can take from your story is passion, and not just passion, but when you're passionate about something and you being ready to commit yourself to it full time. You didn't have a place to go and learn this thing or so. You learned, you by yourself, did a lot of research, practiced, got your laptop, got a phone. Even when you didn't have a laptop, you're using a phone. I mean, that speaks of passion and commitment, and believing in yourself also with the family support system. You talked about making some big mistakes. Now, none of us at this stage can say we never made mistakes, but the good thing is that we have to learn from our mistakes. Do you mind sharing a few of those mistakes that you've learned from? Oh yeah, now legend. Let's hear.
So, first mistake, and I mean, this is like the first time I'm really, this is like exclusive. Because most of these things, I'll tell you, I've really not shared like a lot of these things, just in bits and pieces, but I've really not like sat down to really think about, this happened, this happened, this happened, that kind of thing. So number one mistake that I made, right? So after my 6 months IT, because I had like a 3 months IT and a 6 months IT, right? I had like a 3 months and 6 months IT. So 3 months was when I was doing my internship in an oil and gas servicing company. 6 months, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I'm still in engineering, but let me look for other avenues, because my IT at the time, they were not going to grade it. So I'm like, whether I do it in engineering or not, it doesn't matter. Do you get that kind of thing? So I just went to a media outfit at the time. It was a pretty good, decent media outfit, such that the MD will just, will just say, "Oh, wow, this guy. Oh, you say you do voiceovers. I'm telling you, I just got to the office that day. He said, you do voiceovers? Yes. You do audio production? Yes. And I was still a rookie. It's not like I knew anything. You do audio production? Yes. You just took me to a studio. All the equipment were still packed inside the boxes. Just said, this is your office. Do your thing." And in my mind, I'm like, I've never done all these connections before. What will I do? It's not my business. It's also because do your thing. And then I'm like, okay, how do I connect this thing? Then I went to YouTube. I'll sit down on YouTube. I'll type the name of the equipment. How do they connect this thing? Oh, I connect it. Oh, it's working. Good. Okay, this one is working. Good. Fantastic. Then I test it. And it came. Oh, you set up. Wow. Good. I told you can do it. Then you give me another script. You say, do it. Try this one. This one. Like, who be this guy? Waiting they do this guy. But I'm grateful that I had that experience, because it was more like he took me to a jungle, put me there, and he used the helicopter to get out of the jungle, and I had to find my way out. Right. So I'm grateful that happened. Although, yeah, thinking back, that man, if he can push your destiny, right? But I'm grateful I had that experience. I knew I couldn't stay in that environment for too long, because it was going to be a bit too toxic for me. But I'm glad that happened, and then I left. So one thing I would like to say is so we'll have times and seasons in our lives, right? And not everybody would appreciate what you're bringing to the table per time, even if they know that you've been doing it before. So, for example, say I use myself and you as an example. Myself and you work at a company. Say we worked at a company in 2005. Now we leave that company, and me, I'm still doing what I was doing back then, but I've improved and I've evolved over time. But because you worked with me 10 years down the line, right? When you want to hire me for my services, you will not now want to put value on the work that I do, because Chebi, no be Femi, my boy. And in my mind, I'm like, I know be your boy, yo. Yes, we work together, but this is what I do. All I just needed to do is put value on the work that I do. Finish. I can give you a discount. I can do like a bunch of things for you, but just respect, because I respect the work that you bring to the table. So I disrespect mine. So what happened was, it was with somebody I worked with back then. And then, I was like, I felt it was like, oh, I worked with this guy. Okay, this guy had my back. He introduced me on a couple deals, and then I went and I did the deal, right? Now, on that deal, it was a radio production. It was a radio production for like like a 6-month period, radio production, recording and release and everything. And it was going to be like on a bunch of radio stations, right? And then, the money for that entire project was like 150,000 for 6 months. Now, it really didn't hit me. At the time, but it got to a point into the production. I just felt, bro, you've been cheated.
For 6 months, man. Not even
bro.
month.
I said, like, you've been cheated. 450K for what? In 6 months. You cannot even divide it on a per episode basis. I'm like, nah, fam. So one lesson I got from there was, as much as you think that it might be friendship between maybe you and somebody, or maybe you guys were colleagues at some point, times change, and they might not honor the code of friendship when it comes to business. For them, it might just be business. They want to get the best of that deal for their company or anything. So when it's a business transaction, right? When it's a business transaction, business is business. Do you understand? As much as, you still want to be friends, but also look out for yourself. Like, is this thing working for me? Is this thing making sense for me? Because they might not look out for you, because maybe they are representing a company and they have to get the best deal for that company. But I mean, I still feel personally that if I was friends with somebody, right, and I respect the value that this person brings to the table, I can speak for this person that this is what this person does. I know and I can vouch for this person that, okay, do you understand? There are certain things I can do. I can defend. Do you understand? Which is that's what should be done. Do you understand? If I know a fellow voiceover talent, right, or say because sometimes we do these things and we don't know. So I have a friend who is a photographer. He's a fantastic photographer. When people ask me for the services of a photographer, I'm like, oh, I know somebody that does photography. call this guy. But when I'm introducing them to the photographer, I don't say, my guy, go run, my guy. Oh, no worry, no, I go follow him talk. What I say
Yeah.
is, you know what? This is the contact of this friend of mine. Talk to him. Have a conversation with him. If they ask me how much he charges, I'm not sure how much he charges. His charges might have changed, right? Talk to this guy. And if my guy says I should interface on his behalf, I ask my guy, how much do you charge? I step it up automatically. And this is how much this guy charges. So if I thought there's a discount or there's a bargaining, I know that it doesn't go below how much my guy charges. But it's just because I put respect and value on this guy's work. That's all. I just respect that, this guy does good work. This guy deserves to be paid well. End of story. It's not but for some people, it's just business, right? And just so that nobody gets cheated in the line, whatever business transaction is, like, open your eye, like, and really, ask yourself, would this make sense? Would is this deal worth it for me? That kind of thing. So that was one first mistake I made. I was a rookie, and it really pained me. It hurts me. Yeah, it hurts me deeply. I talked about it like every time to everybody that cared to listen. It really hurts me. It pained me a whole lot. And I stopped seeing that guy in that light again, in that respect. I'm like, nah, if this guy really could do this, I thought you had my back, but nah, I no rate you, Baba. I no rate you again. So if myself and that guy are doing a deal now, I'll give him price. I slam it, pa. You say you're not. I'm sorry, I can't give you a discount. I come clear. Now that I'm coming, there's no friendship. It's business. Is business. Do you understand? It's business for me. Business for you. So let's go the business route. I give him price. If he doesn't want, I walk away. I'm happy to walk away. Do you understand? Because at the time he could, and me personally, I felt what he could have even done is, okay, maybe talk me. I was a rookie. Maybe you could just talk me through some certain thing. Okay, this is how it is. This is how I feel you should charge. This price where they call, no go make sense. You know what? Let's do it this way. Let me present it to these people. See, if he did only that one, I promise you, the dynamics will be different. It really doesn't cost anything. But I get it. Business is business. The second mistake I made was, it was a job for a real estate company in Lagos, and I'm talking a Atlantic. It was big. They were developing and all that kind of thing. So they wanted a voiceover talent, and then they reached out. Somebody recommended me, and then they reached out to me, and they were like, "Oh wow, fantastic! You know how all these clients will come? They'll say all those sweet words to weaken your defense. They'll weaken your defense, right? They'll say, "Oh, you came in highly recommended. Oh, we love your work. We've done this job the first time. This is our fourth time of doing it, and we really want to get it out ASAP. Yada yada yada. Blah 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 blah." They'll say all those things to weaken your defense, so that when you want to say a price, you would have considered all the jagbajantis that they've said, right, before you now say a price, so that it will favor them. So they reached out to me and they said all of those things. They've done it before, blah, 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 blah. And they called me at night. I was tired. I could have easily said, you know what? Can you call me tomorrow? Like, I'm really tired, right? But they kept calling me and, oh, can we get it tomorrow? Blah, blah. Okay, how much do we charge? This one, this one, this one. It was a huge mistake for me because I shouldn't have responded to their call or anything. I should have just chilled till the next day, because I've also come to realize, right, that every project, based on my experience, as urgent as every project is, it can actually wait. And I don't mean like waiting like a long wait, but there is a buffer that can still, do you understand? There's a buffer that can still be allowed. It can wait. But they kept calling me, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't think. I was under pressure. I was scared of calling a particular price and all that kind of thing. And they said, how much you charge? And I just said 30K. Oh, I'll do it for you for 30K, yada, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay. Now, prior to the time, I didn't even do my research. I didn't even know who they were. I was tired. I'm like, do you get? I didn't know. I just went with it. I said 30K. I said 30K. Oh yeah, 30K. Wow, fantastic. We love it. This one. Could you get it done the next day? So the next day I go to work and I told my boss, Mr. Shobo, I said, Mr. Shobo, man, this guy has called me, man. Um, we want to they want to do like a project, yada yada yada, and all that kind of thing. And he said, okay, how much do you charge him? I said 30K. I said, who are these guys? And I told him, and I mentioned the name of the brand. And I
Hmm.
said, you charge people 30K. I said yes. He said you charge you 30K. I said yes. He now Googled it. He now opened the brand. Eh?
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
Femi, what's it buy?
Oh my God.
I'm telling you. He said, what's it buy? I say, hey, oh, hey, God, hey. I was pained. So what he
Mm.
did to me that time was anytime he comes to the office and maybe he wants to take a jab at me, he will just say, you, where you charge these people, he go come pay me again. Omo.
Oh my
Like
God.
he pained me. So when I'm negotiating and I'm remembering this thing, I'm like, nah, don't try it. Don't try it this way. Don't try it this way. I also recently made one final
Mm.
mistake recently. And
Mm.
it was a mistake on my part. And I think everybody should learn from this. When a client reaches out to you, don't be in a
Mm.
hurry. I know they want to get the price in the best possible time, but ask as
Yeah.
many questions as you can.
As
As many
possible.
questions as you can. Do like your research. Do like a lot of research, right? Like don't leave any stones unturned. Do like a lot of research. So these guys reached out to me, and they were like, "Oh, will I be interested in this particular project?" It was for an international e-learning platform, but the guy that reached out to me was from Nigeria and all that kind of
Mm.
thing. So when I asked them for the budget and all that kind of thing, they said the budget was 65K per day. So they wanted to do 21 videos. They wanted to do like
Mm.
21 videos. Each video was like 3 to 4 minutes and all that kind of thing. So yeah, they wanted to do that. And um I negotiated with them, but I didn't make it plain everything. So what I charged for was um, performance fee. I did not
Mm.
talk about usage because I realized that okay, that particular thing will be on their platform and that thing will be making them money. It's a profit generating product. It will be making
Yeah.
them money for as long as God knows what. So it really didn't make sense for me to just charge them performance fee and not usage. So there were two options. So when I now realized, oh man, I've killed myself on this thing.
Yeah.
What I now
Yeah.
did was I called them back and I tried to explain that okay, this one, the usage, blah 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 blah. If you're going to talk about usage, we can talk about a 1 year sales contract, right? That's
Mm.
in terms of usage fee, or we might
Yeah.
if they want to do like a complete buyout, then we might have to renegotiate the entire thing based on a per video
Mm.
basis. So the guy said he was going to get back to me, and then he got
Mm.
back to me, and then he said, "Oh, they won't be needing my service anymore." And I really
Mm.
understood because they might just feel, oh, this guy wants more money and all that kind
Mm.
of thing. But it was my mistake because if I just took my time a bit and I
Yeah.
really asked questions, maybe I called a couple of people and I asked questions, I wouldn't have been in that scenario.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't have been in that scenario. So that was on my path. So
Yeah.
ask as many questions as possible. Where do you want to use this project? How do you intend to use it? How long is it going to be used for? Where is it going
Yeah.
to be put? On TV, on radio, on this one, on that one, on do you understand? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So ask as many questions. If you feel you're inexperienced to charge, somebody can represent you on that negotiation. You can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to hand you over to my client correspondent who is gonna handle all of the conversations, or you know what, send me an email via this one. Do you understand? So there are
Yeah.
ways you
Yeah.
can actually shield yourself from those things even if you are scared.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, man, those three mistakes, like I wrote them down. I'm like, never again. Like I can't afford
Yeah.
for these things to just happen. So those were like the three mistakes that I remember that still pain me till today. And if I see
Today.
anybody in that kind of scenario, I would just
Yeah.
advise them not to do it.
Yeah. See, Femi, bases, so many levels from your first story about how somebody ripped you 150K for 6 months. That one is very painful because the person involved knows better, but the person
Yeah.
intentionally cheated you. And
Yes.
that type of mistake was also based off the fact that you didn't have adequate knowledge of
Yes.
what
Exactly.
was obtainable in the industry. And
Yes.
see,
Exactly.
that is a problem that I recognize. Is it what before we started talking on this podcast, I was
Yeah.
talking about the need to proliferate the industry with so much
Yeah.
knowledge on
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
things ought to go. If you
Yeah.
had the knowledge, if there was, say, a blog, a website, a YouTube
Yeah.
video,
Yeah.
a podcast where you can hear about how things ought to be done,
Yeah.
I'm sure with your enthusiasm about voiceovers, then you would have gotten
Yeah.
that knowledge, that information.
Yeah.
Hence the
Definitely.
reason why like this kind of podcast is happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'm trying to say that we need to we
Yeah.
need as
Exactly.
much as much
Yeah.
content as possible to dish out to the African voiceover populace about
Yeah.
what ought to be in the industry.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing again was, your last job, that error, in fact, the first error, the second one, and all of that, they were tied around negotiation,
Yeah. Yeah.
pricing, and you see, I think we've not done enough
Mm-hmm.
in terms of educating ourselves
Yeah.
how negotiations should be done. We
Yeah.
can talk about learning how to do voiceovers, the different
Mm-hmm.
genres of voiceovers, characterization, and you see, those things are beautiful. But
Yeah.
the business angle of voiceovers, I think we've not done enough. And we need
Yeah.
to start doing something about
Yeah. Yeah. Very,
usage.
very,
You know,
very important.
you
Very
see, you
important.
see, when you told me, or when you said that the person later called you and said they wouldn't need your service again, you know what I thought to myself? I said
Mm.
they didn't say they would not hire you again because you are not good enough or
Mm.
because of your plenty story. They
Yes.
probably found another person who
Yeah.
would not
Possibly.
give them all of that requirement and was ready
Yeah.
to pay. I mean, was ready to do
Yeah.
the job. So they're like,
Yeah.
you like say this guy too professional, too sabi. I beg,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
feel me? So
Yeah.
Femi, as long as we have many people in the industry that have little knowledge
Mm.
about the standard, people like you and I,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the people that know what is worth, we will keep suffering from that, lack of knowledge, from that
Yeah.
illiteracy that is in
Yeah.
our industry. You
Yeah.
get me? So I
Yeah.
look forward to sessions. I don't know if it were
Yeah.
would be webinars and stuff like that, where we can really, in fact, on this podcast, I would also ensure that we have time to talk about negotiation,
Mm-hmm.
pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people
Mm-hmm.
don't have a rate card. In fact, well, anyways, we know that rates vary a lot. For
Yeah.
instance, if you are doing a job for the top telecommunications
Yeah.
brands in Nigeria versus you are doing a job for just one secondary school that needs, you tend to kind of look at the value, look at how far your job is going and all of that. But
Yeah.
then there ought to be certain benchmarks. This is my rates,
Mm-hmm.
and these
Mm-hmm.
are the things that influences my rates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a good thing that you brought this up.
Yeah.
This as created that necessity that
Very
we need to
important.
do something about it. Yeah, it's really, really important. So thank you, man.
Very,
I
very
also have my
important.
own bag of I have my bag of
Experiences.
mistakes.
Yeah.
I've made mistakes, especially in terms of pricing. I remember also
Yeah.
somebody calling me, like the person called you, and rather than say, okay, send me your email, I'm going to forward to you my rate card or stuff like that, I didn't. In fact, I just
Mm.
talked. And at the end of the day,
Mm.
I regretted it.
Mm.
So one of my mentors taught me that when the talk is getting to whatever it is, you do most of the questioning. And when they want to ask for your price, just tell them to send in your their mail
Email.
that you're going to
Yeah.
forward them those documents. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, let's even talk about you. And
Yeah.
because now let's track back a little bit. You
Yeah.
mentioned the pocket ad. And
Yeah.
I remember when that happened. That was like some few weeks ago when Big Brother
Yeah.
Nigeria started
Yeah.
airing.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, no, that ad is very good. First of all, like, you know, you
Thanks a lot.
executed it well. You did
Thanks a
execute it
lot.
well. It was like the right match. Your voice was the right match for that kind of stuff. And people started reaching out
Really.
to me. So I'm like, Tcode, for real, man. At least 3 people. The first day, 2 persons reached out to me. The day after, another person reached out. Like, I said, I'm not the one that did code. It was, and then I reached out to you personally. But that was a great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Now,
Thanks a lot.
I know you've also done jobs for bigger brands and all of that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that there is a rule book or there's a way it's every negotiation had gone. But for you,
Yeah.
what would you say, or how would you say the proper process should go? If you could write a book and say step by step, these are the things that we should pay attention to. And then
Mhm.
before you get into production, and when you get into production, this is how you should also, things like reviews,
Yeah.
corrections. What
Yeah.
are the terms that you should
Yeah.
attach to that part of the business?
Okay. Awesome. 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 All right. So before I even answer anything, I already told myself that okay, I've made like a lot of foolish mistakes, right? And these mistakes I'm making self is I'm learning from them, but they're for
Mm,
other people to learn from. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should just start writing about them, maybe on LinkedIn or something, writing about all of these foolish errors, right? Yeah.
mhm.
So for somebody, so let's give an example. Somebody reaches out to me for a project, and there are two ways around it. Now I'm going to talk
Yeah,
about the local and the international front based on my own experience.
yeah,
Now, what happens is this, right? Say it's a local, like Nigerian kind of project. If somebody reaches out to you, the processes are similar, but quite different. Now, somebody reaches out to you on IG, say Instagram, and like, oh wow, they would love you to do a project and all that kind of thing. Maybe sometimes, right? You can wherever you people have that conversation, wherever it is, it can start on WhatsApp, it can
hmm
start on phone call, it can start
Instagram,
on Instagram, wherever
LinkedIn,
it
anything.
happens.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, anywhere, wherever it happens, always have an email correspondence. Always, always. So once you've taken let's say someone calls me and says, "Hi Femi, good afternoon. My name is Amina from something something telecoms. We would like you to do a project for us. The project is this. After she says everything, I'll say, okay, you know what, Amina, could you do me a favor? Kindly send me the brief, a detailed brief of what you want me to do and your deliverables to my email address
Mm,
at this and this and this and this. And then I'll go through it, right, and respond with a quote for execution. Then when I
mm,
respond, she can now call me and say, no, the price is too much, blah, 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 blah. This one, that one. We bargain.
mm,
Once we reach an agreement, I go back to that email. Hello, I'm in a sequel to our conversation. We spoke about this, and came to a conclusion that okay, this will be the perfect price for the execution of this project.
mm,
Kindly respond to this or kindly approve to know that we're on the same page. And then she responds, right?
mm,
And then so when you do that, that's first thing, like negotiation. Apart from the negotiation, put every other thing that you would want to mention. So in terms of say revision, correction. If you know that you cannot do more than two correction, let them know that okay, for this particular project, you will just
yeah,
permit two corrections as long as it's not from your end. Two
yeah,
corrections meaning that if you are changing the scripts or yeah, majorly scripts like rewrites and all that, like right, you're not going to, it's going to attract extra charge. Maybe from your end, anything that's from your end in terms of mispronunciation, you missed the direction and all that kind of thing, right? You can do it at no cost, right? But even if they
Yeah.
have a correction, maybe the max that you might be able to permit is 2. So they know from the jump that this guy is not joking. I've had an instance where it was for an online ad, right? And I told them off the jump. I said, guys, it was in an email. I said, for every correction you do, I'm going to charge you, right? So at the time, the job was 60K, but they corrected the job 3 times. So for every correction they did, I was paid, I think, 40K, and they corrected it 3 times. What's my business? If they like, they should correct it 120 times.
You
I'm
pay
not the one
money.
that said it. Yeah, I'm not the one that said you guys should not get your ducks in a row and settle yourselves. But I told you off the bat, you agreed, then let's go. There's some of them that you'll be lenient enough and you say, okay, maybe it's 3 corrections or it's 4 corrections, because you really cannot tell. And sometimes it might be easy to discern a client who will stress the living daylight out of you, and
Yeah.
some that will respect that, okay, we cannot request too many things from this person. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
state everything, state the deliverables. Tell them that, okay, when they say this and this and this are the what, respond to them in an email. Okay, your deliverables will be voiceover alone without any form of production. So this will be the breakdown of the invoice, studio session, um um audio editing, um voiceover talent fee, and possibly mixing and mastering. If it's full
Yeah.
production, you give them breakdown. Let them know, like, detail everything so that it won't
Yeah.
be, but I thought, no, sir. If you check
Hmm.
that email, everything will be stated. It's clearly written there.
Yeah.
Everything is clearly written
Yeah.
there. So state everything. Wherever
Yeah.
you have the conversation, no matter where it is, always have an email correspondent. Always.
Yeah.
Always do that. Always have it. It's
Yeah.
very important. It will save
Yeah.
you in the days of trouble, and you can have a third party that can vet the conversation. Because for all I care, I can delete my number, I can break my SIM, I can delete my entire WhatsApp conversation, I can delete Instagram, and it will be like I never had any conversation with you. I can do all those things, but email, I can't. I can't delete from your end except maybe I hack into your email, right? So
Hmm.
that is like the evidence that we have in that kind of conversation,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
As much as possible to also in that kind of thing, you can request and ask for their budget. Oh, what budget are you working with? May I know the budget you're working with? Because sometimes this budget thing it could be a two-way thing. Sometimes, or
Yeah.
most time, the client will always tell you a budget that is always lower than the budget that they are going for, so that when you
Yeah.
hear a lower budget, you won't be able to shoot high. You will just say, these
Yeah.
people are saying their budget is 50K, so let me charge 80K. Meanwhile, maybe their budget for that might have been 300 or 500. But it's strategy. They also want to save money. It's not like the money for that project that is not there. It's there, but they want to take the remaining money, right? So it's strategy. Once they hit all time low, hit all time high, then let them say oga, Do you get? That's when you know that
Yeah.
okay. So if they say our budget for this is 60K, I'll be 80K, or hit 150, hit it. Just mention, say it. Say it's too much. Then if at all you negotiate, you can enter 120, you can
Mm-hmm.
enter 130, you can enter 100. It's just
Mm-hmm.
strategy. The clients will always drop the bar. They will always
Mm.
give you a ridiculous price most of the time, just so
Yeah.
that you don't shoot too high, so that you
Yeah.
consider them and say, let me pity these people. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So once they hit an all-time low, take it all-time high,
Hi.
give it to
Mm.
them. Hey, and both of you can meet in the middle. It's
Mm.
convenient for you, it's convenient for the client. So it's always very important. If you can ask for the budget, do that, hear what they have to say, and then revert. You don't have to give a response on the spot. Just tell them,
Yeah.
I'll send you an email, I'll reach out to you, and then we can take the conversation from there. Finish. Don't worry. Nobody will, there's no chokehold on your neck that says you must give it now. You must give it now. Oh God, you should wait, you should calm down. Now, for the
Mm.
international front, you need to know the terms. You need to read and research what is usage fee, what is buyout, what is
Mm.
paid media, what is non-paid media.
Mm,
when they say they want to use it for TV, is it local? Is it
on-
regional? Is
mm,
it national? Is it a broadcast job? Is it non-broadcast? Do you understand?
yeah.
Is it e-learning? So you need to know these things. Even if it's e-learning, is it just for internal purposes, or is the e-learning going to be generating money for the company? So
Mm,
you have to now read and research. There's a lot of information on this. If you go to vocoins.com, if you check out
mm,
vocoins.com rates, just search for vocoins.com rates. They will state everything and explain everything. Rates,
mm,
this one, usage. So you need to expose yourself to that, because if you don't know, they won't cheat you. You are the
mm.
one that will cheat yourself. Do you
Yeah,
understand? You are the one
yeah,
that will cheat yourself. They will state everything there. This is what they want to use for. This is what they want to use for. This is what they want to use it for. And because you don't know, you just feel, ah, this offer they are giving me, Omo, I've not seen this kind of money in my life. Oh, let me jump on it. Meanwhile,
yeah,
it's not like they're cheating you. You just don't know the terms they are using, and you don't know how to bargain. So they
yeah.
might give you a $1,500 or a $2,000 for, they'll say they want to use it for paid and non-paid media. They shall list everything. And in your
Mm.
mind, you'd have converted that dollars to naira. 1 million naira. I don't know. Do you understand?
Yeah,
You say, I
yeah,
don't really know. Meanwhile, for them, it's a steal. And it's not like
yeah,
they cheated you in that sense. You just don't know what they are saying. Do you
yeah.
understand? Because most
Mhm.
of the time, they will give you everything straight up. They will tell you the budgets they're working with, and they will tell you all the things they want to use it for. Then they will ask you, is this something you're willing to do? Do you understand? You will now ask
Yeah.
yourself, okay, do I want this brand on my portfolio? Do I want to work with these people? Is the money making sense? You now have to ask yourself certain questions and really weigh the odds. Is this money
Mhm.
worth a full buyout? Is this money worth 1 year licensing? But on the international market, you now have to expose yourself. You have to read. You have to
Mm.
do a lot of research before
Yeah.
um reach like a final
Conclusion.
conclusion. I saw an
Mm.
audition. Which day was this? Was it yesterday? And they said they were looking for a Nigerian voiceover talent, and they listed everything. They said in the audition, when you're responding to the audition, let me read what they said. They said, they asked, okay, do you have a Nigerian talent? Do you have a Nigerian accent? Are you available for a recording in mid or late August? Um, what is your fee for a 3 to 4 minutes film, including buyout websites, social
Mm.
media without paid media, worldwide or unlimited time? Do you understand? So I said,
Yeah.
okay, even before I respond to this thing, let me go and do research. Let me go and check. Okay, what are other people doing? What is obtainable? If you don't want to
Yeah.
do buyout, okay, how do you structure your conversation in a way that gives them, say, a 1 year licensing fee? So how do you
Mm.
do this? How do you do that? You now have to research and read,
Mm.
and
Mm.
expose your mind. So it's two level playing fields. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Mm.
In Nigeria, they really don't understand usage and
You
everything.
don't really,
Outside there, it's different. And because they're
yeah.
giving you dollars, you feel, hey, my life don't change. Oh, meanwhile, do you understand? You're converting it. Do you
Yeah.
get? So
Yeah.
those are two different scenarios that I feel can be played differently. You just have to be smart about it.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this is so helpful. The knowledge you've shared today, and I'm sure everyone that listens, most people, especially Nigerians and even Africans, will be able to get back to the drawing board and
Mhm.
fix one or two things in terms of their negotiation strategy
Yeah,
and all of that. And like I said, we're still going to have that time where we'll talk about these things in detail, step
yeah,
by step.
yeah,
Shout out to you guys too. I have to say that the voiceover drill, yeah.
yeah,
So I remember a few years ago, that was, I don't know, maybe it was last year, 2 years ago, when the website was launched. It also had the rate card. I think that was
yeah.
the
Yes,
first
yes.
time. I stand to be corrected, but I think that was the first time that in Nigeria we had a place, a public domain where you could find
Yeah,
the
the
rate
red card.
card. Yeah, and
Yeah.
also it's interesting that I also believe that that was a version from the voiceover drill that did not actually cut across the entire industry, because we know that there is an association
Yeah.
for voiceover
Yeah.
artists in Nigeria, and they have a rate card.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not as though we have it in the public domain where people can
Yes. Yes.
find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
what you guys did with the voiceover drill was very helpful,
Yeah.
right? I know that it could have been upgraded, but that
Yes.
itself
Yes. Yes.
was a
Yes. Yes.
big um was a big bonus, and people could reach there. I know it's no longer up for now. I don't know, maybe it's going to
No,
be
would I think we should put it back. So what we wanted to do is convert it, take it from naira to dollars. So we understand what is
I
happening with
see.
the whole naira thing. So if it's
I
in
see.
dollars, regardless of whatever exchange rate is, you are safe. Whenever you convert it to, you're like, okay, this still
Cool.
makes a lot of sense. So that's what we want
Cool.
to do now. Take it from naira and put it in dollars, right? It's also to
Cool.
give people an idea that, look, man, you see this price that is here is actually obtainable. You can charge this. It is worth
Yeah.
it for this
Yeah.
project. It is worth it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That kind of
Yeah.
thing. So people don't limit themselves to they are doing 5K and 10K for radio. You can charge more than 100,000 for just your voice for radio. It is possible.
Definitely.
Do you
Yeah.
understand? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're still gonna update it and convert it, take the naira away, then put the dollars, regardless of
Yeah.
the
And then
conversion rate.
yeah. And like I always tell people can also check, there's the GVAA rate
Yeah, rate
guide
guide.
and other,
Yeah,
yeah, those are
yeah,
places where you
yeah.
can find resources to help you modify whatever you're doing for your local client. See, there's a lot of education that has to happen. And I feel like the
Yes,
more
yes,
we the more we cooperate, the more we stay
yes,
united, right? The
yeah,
more we have this kind of conversations, we can keep getting closer to what we will call a standard in the industry. Because if your standard is different from mine, and
yeah,
because of
yeah,
how
yeah.
professional you view this thing, and somebody
Hmm.
reaches out to you, and then it seems like you are off the bat, you're just too professional, and they
Yeah,
reach out to me, but because I am less informed about this, I'll keep
yeah.
getting the job that you
Mm-hmm.
should have
By
gotten,
rejecting.
but I'll
Yeah.
get it with less value. And you know what that
Mm-hmm.
happen? You know what happens to us? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't only affect the voice talent. It
Yeah,
doesn't just affect the pool. It also empowers those that gives us the jobs to
yeah.
to bank on our lack of knowledge and
Yeah.
exposure, and they keep ripping us. In fact, some
Mm-hmm.
of them aren't even also educated enough in this whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. So when you say some things, they think that you're just being pompous. But
Yeah, you're
if they
proud.
listen, yeah, but if they speak to a Femi Bakes, they speak to a Tcode, they speak to like at least 5 people, and we're all
Mm-hmm.
saying
The
very
same thing.
related, yeah, then they feel like, okay, it's like this industry, this is the industry standard. You
Yeah.
feel me? So
Mm.
once again, great stuff you guys are doing at the voiceover drill. Initially I thought that would have a lot of time to talk about the audio, the sound production,
Yeah.
design, and things
Yeah.
like that. But it just seemed like this episode isn't for that. So another episode, we'll find
No,
time to talk about
definitely.
sound production. Yeah, I
Definitely.
like I like I like the momentum we were able to bring up on this whole business of voiceovers.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so, but I've taken most of your time, so let's just get down to the less serious things before we close. First
Yeah.
of all, let me ask you, where do you see the industry in the next 5 years?
Well, I think the industry in the next 5 years, I honestly think that there'll be a lot more enlightenment, right?
Hmm.
People will come into the knowledge of what is obtainable and what is not.
Hmm.
I also feel strongly that gradually, the markets will begin to get decentralized, such that, especially in the Nigerian market,
Yeah.
such that the power might start to move from um, just the advertising agencies
Yeah.
to um, voiceover talents to clients directly so that they're able to cut out the middleman. But that
Mm,
would also happen if voiceover talents take themselves like brands, just the same way influencers take themselves as brands, and then they deal with the
right,
client directly, and then they're able to get the big buck for themselves. So
right.
that's going to happen. Like if we begin to take ourselves like seriously as brands. So I see that that would start to happen in like the next 5 years because of social media. So
Mm,
people would begin to think differently about voiceovers, apart from you
mm,
just being the voice, to you being the face, the
mm.
voice, the
The
presence,
brand.
the
Mm.
brand. And
Become
people
an
we really
influencer as
want
well.
exactly
In the
be
space, yeah.
more like an influencer so that people are able to put like a face to the
Mm,
voice instantly. They're like, this voice, I know this person. This voice, I know this person. It won't be
yeah.
a thing of the past where we are looking and we are searching everywhere. We're like, this I've heard, I know this, I've been hearing this voice, but I don't know the person. It'll be, I
Mm.
know this voice, I know the person.
I
I
know
know
the
this
first.
voice, I know the person. So that's what like the industry is like really moving. Um I also see that a lot more the international market will seek African voices more than what is even happening now. Like our indigenous languages will be sought after. So people
Yeah.
who do like the Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa,
Yeah.
Pidgin, and all other indigenous languages is going to be really, really sought after. So right now it's time for like positioning for that moment, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it's really going to be sought after. It's going to be hot cake. The way Afrobeat is like hot cake in the world right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is going to happen like in a quicker way because
Mm.
a bunch of voice directories or voice banks online, when you
Mm.
check the languages, you now see Yoruba, you see Igbo, you see Hausa. It
True.
means that there is beginning to be a demand for those things. So they
Yeah.
started to include it, gradually,
Yeah.
gradually. So that's why I see the industry um moving. That's where I see the industry, headed towards.
Mm. Mm. That's awesome. I see that happening as well, and I can tell you for a fact that those moves are already activated. People are
Yeah,
doing things, you
yeah,
know. So
hmm
where the industry is opening up, and
yeah,
a lot of
yes,
things are happening, and I'm
yeah,
excited about it.
yeah.
So, what's your top three voiceover genres?
Personally, I like narrations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like narrations. Well, maybe not long form like audiobook, but except money is good though. But narrations, short form narrations. In that phase where I'm trying to like break away from the conventional type of read to a more conversational and friendly type of read. So I like
Mm,
narration. I like commercials, right?
mm,
Because narration commercials, and I think um I've not really delved into it as much, but I really like the movie trailers.
mm.
So yeah, like I like that space, but I've not really explored it as much. But
You've
yeah,
got a
that's like
voice,
it.
man. Okay.
Yeah,
What?
that's like a go-to right now. Like I really love to explore it a lot more.
Let me try another jab. What you lacked in beards, you got it in voice.
Nice one. I see, I see, I see, I see,
Maybe one
I
day when you
see, I
bring me
see,
on your pod, I
I
will
see, I
suffer.
see. No, I see, I see, I see, I see.
This
Nice
is
one,
my
nice one.
home, so I do you the way I like it.
No problem. Enjoy. Have fun, have fun, have fun,
When I
have
pay
fun.
away, I don't say I will drop out.
Nah, it makes sense. No
Okay.
worry, no worry.
So when you're not doing audio engineering, voiceovers, and the likes, what do you do with your spare time?
In my spare time, I am watching a 1 hour, 30 minutes movie for 7 days.
Ah,
Yeah.
ooh.
So the way it works is I find it difficult to like watch movies. So I
Uh-huh.
I can't watch movies normally anymore, right?
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
that part, in the sense that I'm watching the movie now, I'm like, whoa, I like how that guy spoke. Wow. I love how he said that line. Let me rewind. I rewind again. I'm like, wow, I see. This is so good. This is so good. And then I watch it, I'm like, did you see that sound effect? Or more like you passed through the right
Yeah.
ear, went to the left ear. I'm like, I cannot watch a movie normally again. I don't know if it's a curse or I just can't do it. Right. So I see myself watching one movie, 1 hour, 30 minutes. I'm doing 4 days or 5 days or sometimes one
Mm,
week. If it's a series,
mm,
I'm doing 1 month. I'm doing over a
mm,
month. So
mm,
I try in my spare time, I try to watch movies. Nowadays I'm trying to like go out more and have fun and meet
mhm,
new people. So
mhm.
yeah, in my spare time, I'm trying to see how I can catch up like on new things, learn new hobbies and all, you know.
Mm, cool, cool. I have a similar experience with movies, but mine is different. I also cannot watch a movie once, but my own problem is that when I start watching a movie, I sleep off. So I have to continue from where I stopped. Except it's one of those movies that I've been dreaming about, or I go to the cinema to watch. But if I watch on my phone, I'm just gonna doze off. But anyways, cool talking to you, bro. It's been nice having you on this podcast. And is there any other thing you'd like to say to voice talent out there? Drop your legendary 2 cents.
Yeah. Um, to voiceover talents out there, honestly, there's a lot of information out there that you can capitalize on,
Mm,
learn, implement, and put it out there. So I understand that sometimes you might want to get into that loop of seeking validation of whether it's good or not good, and then you don't put anything out there. You are robbing
mm,
yourself of the growth that everybody can see, that is evident to everybody to see, right?
mm,
It's one thing for you to put a perfect work out there. It's another thing
yeah,
for you to put the process of how you got to that perfection. When people
yeah.
see the imperfect process and they
Mm,
see the perfect result, then they appreciate the perfect result a whole lot more. Like they like
mm,
it. It's fantastic. It's great. So that's
mm,
one thing you should know. Another thing you should know is um we might be at different journeys in our lives and we might have different privileges. Everybody might not have the same privilege, right? So if you see
yeah.
that you're doing voiceover and he's really not doing like he's not bringing in the big bulk and all that kind of thing, and you have responsibilities and all that kind of thing, then it's safe and it will make a lot of sense if you can pick something else within the voiceover ecosystem that is a high
Mm,
ticket earner, maybe like audio production or
mm-hmm,
animation or video editing and all that kind of thing. And you do, and then you use whatever proceeds you have to feed your voiceover seed or your voiceover craft or career. So even if it means going out of the field, say you want to go into you want to do like tech and all that kind of thing, but you're still very passionate about the whole voiceover thing. You can use
mm,
if you're doing tech and it's a high ticket earner, whatever money you get, you can decide, okay, you want to build a home studio, you want to get equipment, and you're doing that on the side. Like it's small, small,
yeah,
and it's growing, it's growing. So it makes a lot
yeah.
of sense. For some people, they might be very fortunate to get into that space and it's from one gig to the other, one gig to the other,
Mm,
one gig to the other, international markets and all that kind of thing. So there's that too. If you have to do that to pay bills and be responsible, by all means do that. Right.
mm,
The world is borderless right now. So somebody in Nigeria can reach out to somebody in the US, in the UK, in the
yeah.
Middle East, anywhere in
Mm,
the world. It just depends on how you want to do it. There
yeah.
are there is information of casting directors, production houses, agencies across the world that are looking for your type of voice. The only thing is you've not made it easy for them to find you. It's either you've
mm,
not reached out to them personally, or you're not visible enough for them to even see you at all. So one thing you can do is send as many cold emails, reach out to people on LinkedIn, casting directors and all that kind of thing. Find ways to serve them so that you are top of mind, not just sending them your voice and say, okay, they should keep you in mind and all that kind of thing. Try to reach out as much as possible. Think about
mm,
it. We have how many continents in the world, and then we now have how many countries in those
mm.
continents, right? Now
Yeah.
imagine you sending cold emails to at least 100 countries or 50 countries, right? To
Mm,
casting directors, production houses, and all that kind of thing in each continent. And you're telling me you not get a response. It's not even possible. Of course you will get.
mm.
Do you understand? So
Yeah.
there is the work to be done. And if you are really looking for some results, right, some massive results, there is a lot of daily work to be done. So
Mm,
practice in the little way you can, listen and watch as many things as you can, pick up, learnings from there. It's not a, it's a gradual process. It's a
yeah.
one step at a time. It's not, people don't get it just like that. I mean, if you heard everything that I shared, it wasn't the
Yeah.
year I started that, you know, people
Yeah.
hear me now and they're like, when I work with, voiceover talent and I directed them in the studio, I know they're like, man, you are so good. Oh my God, you are so good. It just sounds
Mhm,
so good when you say it. This one in my mind, I'm like, but you're doing the exact same thing. Fine, it might not be
mm,
perfect yet, but
mm,
what I'm doing now is years of listening, watching, implementing, trying, failing, do you understand? Learning and repeating the entire process again. It's just been a couple of years of doing that. And you can do that if you're patient enough to go through the process, right?
mm,
And I keep learning and keep evolving because the Femi Bakes that you see now will definitely not be the one you see next year in terms of voiceover. I would have improved.
evolved.
I would have
Yeah.
hit a different milestone.
Yeah.
I would have hit a different milestone. Another thing I need to tell you that it is possible. That amount that you think is not possible, somebody else is
Mm.
collecting it. It's very possible,
True.
right? You can earn 100K, you can earn 500K, you can earn 1 million or even more. Stop
Mm,
thinking in naira, think in dollars. For every project
mm,
you get, just try to say, okay, in dollars, how much do you think this will be? Now peg
mm,
it at that. See what is obtainable in the international market and see how you can align it to fit, where you are. So think in dollars, like Mr. Shuba will always say, think in dollars, spend in naira. When somebody
mm.
says, oh, they want to give you $2,000, when you convert it to naira, it's like, hey, 1 million naira, but in dollars, it's still $2,000, right?
Yeah.
So think in dollars for most of the projects that you want to do, spend in naira. Whenever you get a project, ask yourself why you are doing it, right?
Mm,
It might be for portfolio sake, it might be for money, it might be to tap into the person's social capital. It might be to just stay top of mind. It might be to keep a relationship that you know is valuable to you running and healthy.
mm.
It might be for different reasons. So my reason for not taking a job might be different from you, right? Taking
Yeah.
that job. It varies. We are just at different levels of our journeys and it varies, right? Also ask questions, ask as many questions as possible, reach out to people, as much as you can, but you are not entitled to a response either, right? So if they
Yeah.
respond to you, praise God. If they respond to
Mm-hmm.
you on time, fantastic. If they don't respond to
Mm-hmm.
you on time, at least they responded. But if they don't even respond to you at all, just on to the next one. Don't hate. Just
Mm-hmm.
move on to the next one. On to the next one, right?
Mm,
It happens like
mm,
that. But the internet is one of your greatest assets, and you have no idea what you can
mm,
do. So many materials online. We have voices.com's
mm,
YouTube channel and we have their website. So many materials. We have Gravy for the Brain. We have the
mm,
voiceover drill. We have
mm,
vocoins.com. We have the GVAA rates guide. We have
mm,
voice acting 101. There's so many materials, that you can learn from,
Okay.
that you can read from. Take your time
Mm.
and study these things, you know, and you just never know. Also, be open to spending to improve.
Yeah,
I think I need to say this
investing.
again. Be open
Yeah.
to spending to improve. Stop saying, oh, I cannot spend my money, oh, this one. You spend money on coaching because you keep coaching and
Mm.
improving as you go in your career.
Mm.
You need different forms of coaching,
Mm.
right? So be open to spending to buy quality equipment. Even when you buy a particular mic this year, be open to improving that mic if you have to, maybe in the
Mm.
next 5 years or something. So have that mentality of everything is not always free. I would have
Mm.
to pay for certain things at some points in my voiceover journey. If it's going
Mm.
to require that, I have to be open to that ideology, just so that you are
Mm.
not disappointed every time. If you have to pay for session fees, you'll pay. If you have to buy equipment, then be open to that idea. Even if you don't have the money, but be open to the idea of when the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take it and I'm going to buy it. Right?
Mm.
Use the internet to your advantage, like I said before. You just never know, right?
Mm. Yeah.
There are a lot of people that want to hear your voice, that need your voice. Make sure you're either visible to them, right, or you're visible to them. Pick one of the above. But yeah, just keep pushing, man. You know.
Man, Femi, this sounds like a master class already. It's been a great. I mean, I imagine they put five of us in a room. We would talk for the whole day.
I'm telling you. I'm telling
Yeah,
you. I'm telling you.
awesome. Before you leave,
Yeah.
please drop your contact list for possible clients that want to reach out to you, or
Oh,
just
okay.
be able to connect.
Okay. So you could reach out to me on Instagram, on Twitter at Femi Bakes. It's one word, Femi Bakes, FemiBakes at Femi Bakes. You could send me an email as well to I am Femi Olugbade at gmail.com. I am Femi Olugbade at gmail.com. Right. And if you want to listen to my podcast, check out Letters to Boys with a Z on all your streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Jamit, Podroom app, YouTube. So yeah, you could find me there,
Dope.
and we get to work together, hopefully.
Dope. That's it, guys. I had the legendary Femi Bakes on this one. Daniel Bakes. Femi Bakes. Yeah. So, all right, people. So you heard it all. Enjoy. You can listen again, take some notes, and anticipate the next episode of this podcast. I remain Tcode, and I say keep voicing and keep living the dream. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell someone about it. Follow the podcast on Everything Theos on all social media platforms. Thanks for listening and see you on the next episode.